Hey Demetrius. So yeah, I just wanted to give you some feedback on these. So for me, the most interesting ones are the ones that don't kind of have a human type of a head. Um, Kind of like this one, but again, I would try to avoid just putting eyes, nose, and a mouth. It just kind of makes it less intriguing. And just my first impression of this one is it just kind of looked like a scarecrow or something. So you really want to try to create an individual, a unique caricature with the objects. Again, this one's got really cool stuff, but again, it's just resembling too much the anatomy of a human. So I just wanted to show you a couple examples of past student work and just kind of mention a few things. Another approach that a lot of students have is everything's in head-on one-point perspective. You can see that this is 3 points because we're seeing three sides of this printer. Again, the text isn't very good, but the caricature's okay. This one is a really successful one. It's a final, and she really worked hard on this. But what makes this interesting is it doesn't have, it's got some arms and legs kinds of things, but the head doesn't have a smiley face or something like that. And notice the side view and the sense of motion created. And it also uses perspective. This back arm object is smaller, which is using the tools of perspective. Notice the text. I mean, this is a final, so, and she created the background. She spent a lot of time on this. Here's another one using, I mean, this is okay. I mean, I try to have people not do the face, but I don't know. Students kind of gravitate towards the most obvious sometimes. But anyway, this back leg is smaller. This is okay. And again, he did pretty good with this because this is a pretty flat object, but he did still manage to show two sides, and again, using perspective for the back wheel. And again, this one, and this is kind of what I mean by not trying to use a human, humanoid face or whatever. And it doesn't have to have two legs, or doesn't, like I said, doesn't have to be, and this one uses a lot more than 5 objects, as you can see. But again, just kind of suggesting, a kind of face, but really it isn't. So that's why it's more intriguing. And again, you can see several sides of this, so it's just more interesting. This one's a little over. And again, this is another good example of what I'm trying to say with this is, no need to really, overtell the story. Just really, it needs to just evoke certain resemblances to be successful. And, it's just usually more intriguing. So, and again, if you look at this one, pretty flat object, but again, using perspective, this side is smaller, this is smaller, and again, just kind of evoking the heads. And look at the really good variety of objects. This one's, and this is another one that's kind of interesting. I'm not saying you have to do this. I mean, and even you can add like some facial stuff, but overall, she had it here, but it didn't look that interesting. It just made it look like a cartoon, And here too, this is a really successful one. The text is too big, but again, didn't need to put all of this stuff up here. It just, again, makes it look like a cartoon. That one's, and again, this is using 1-point perspective head on, and you can see how flat it looks. So I like to show that. This is, again, no human face. The background doesn't work, but it's, it's pretty interesting. Same here. So that's really about all. I did have some more food ones, but I should try to find it. So let's just quickly look at your objects. I know this is going to be a long feedback. So yeah, I see you chose this one, but I would just make some suggestions. I would just change it a little bit. Again, it's just looking too much like a scarecrow, or like like a rag doll, or it just looks human. So this looks too small too. When you look at that video about how to search Google, because this relatively looks too small, we are putting it into a 300 DPI file. So when you put this in, it's going to look tiny. Now this looks like a vector drawing. I would definitely look for something that looks more photographic. This will be too small. This probably okay. I don't know. I would again view that video that I have about how to look for images on Google, and then you can make sure to like search for stuff over 2 and 3 or 4 megapixels. Again, no vector drawings. This looks really cool. I love the color. I really like the variety in the color that you've had. You have, but again, when you when you put these into a 300 DPI photo, and when you first put them in, if they look tiny, I would get bigger images because you can enlarge them and they'll look fine on the screen, but then when you zoom in, they'll be pixelated. And the idea too is also to have something to print for your portfolio. So my main suggestion is with the size of the image, and just really rethink some of these objects. You can use objects from all different, and again, I just would really focus on not the standard arms, head kind of thing. Okay, so it just, it's just not as interesting or as intriguing, as mentioned earlier. So anyway, I hope this helps, and yeah, hope to see. Well, I guess this week we're masking out with the masks, so hopefully you'll get some better images before you start that, because that takes a lot of time. Okay.